Some of you listening now have issues and problems simply because one day your parents were together and then the next day they was like, yeah, we're done, we out. You're listening to Relationship Renegade, where we talk about hard truths and realities about your relationship. I'm your host, Dr. Jameson Mercier. Welcome again to yet another installment of this podcast, Relationship Renegades. Thank you for joining us. So, as you know, we are talking about unsolicited advice. All right. If you've missed the first few episodes, you definitely want to go back and get caught up. They don't necessarily build on each other, but you get a nice foundation. All right. We're going to continue the whole month of March. And so you got plenty of time to catch up. Also, at the end of March, we'll be launching our monthly webinar called the Relationship Blueprint. So make sure you keep it here. Stay with us on our Instagram, Relationship Renegade Podcast, and check out my Instagram as well, Dr. Jameson Mercier. That's Dr. Jameson Mercier. And you'll get all the information there. Now, on to today's episode. We are continuing our conversation about unsolicited advice that people get. And today we're talking about unsolicited advice that we give divorced people or people who are preparing for a divorce, divorcees, divorcees. The statistics are such that most people know someone who's gone through a divorce. Damn sure y'all know someone who's talked about it or thought about it, might have considered it. And so it's a demographic that we definitely wanted to include in this conversation because, as we've been saying, everyone has something to say, but not everyone really understands the person whom they're giving the advice to. Okay, so we're going to spend some time and address the advice that we give people going through a divorce. And so at the end of this episode, after listening to this episode, if you've got some things to add, don't hesitate to share. If you yourself experience some of this, hit us up in the DMs, in the comments, and the reviews, and we'd be happy to have you. So let's just jump into this. The information that I am sharing with you today is based on my work with people who've gone through a divorce, are going through a divorce. As you guys know, I'm married. We thought we were going to be divorced at one time, but we're not. We're still married, thank God. And so this is directly from people who I've worked with, all right? Not my own personal experience. So one thing that I've heard from divorcees, and I'll use them collectively, the term divorcee, is that people say, focus on the big picture. Focus on the big picture. And so the question I have in response to that is, what is the big picture? And so, you may hear about life after divorce, and, you can make it, and a whole bunch of other stuff that people say. And what I would say to those people, just try and imagine that while you're sitting in it, right, looking down the barrel of a divorce. Just try and imagine it. And it doesn't necessarily matter how it is you came to that situation. People always think about, people asking for divorce, the one being divorced, and as if it makes a difference. There are people for whom they are being divorced, right? And they would want nothing more than to stay married. And then there are those who are doing the divorcing and they want nothing more to be married. However, they just can't see it working with the person that they are married to. And then somebody comes along and says to either of these people, focus on the big picture. Well, what the hell is the big picture? What is the big picture when someone is in this kind of situation where they are, essentially seeing their lives crumbling, just falling apart, and you say focus on the big picture? What else is left after that? What else does someone have when they're losing their family or someone they want nothing more than to spend an eternity with? There is no bigger picture. There is no bigger picture. As a matter of fact, when we tell people look at the big picture, the bigger picture, it's the same thing when we tell someone to hurry up and get over it. Right? We just kind of want to brush over that, not acknowledge what's going on for these people. Look at the big picture. And by the way, we've already established that all this kind of advice is very much well intended, but it's not. It's not. It doesn't get to that. So look at focus on the big picture, something that divorcees will hear, and that's just a load of crap. Number 2, people often get the advice to get all you can. Girl, he about to leave you. All right, make sure you get everything you can. Get everything you can. All right. And in particular, we're talking about the house, the cars, whatever. And we get it. I get it. I do. Being divorced, separating, it can be a very traumatic thing. For many people, it is. And particularly for women, statistically, I'm just giving some statistics, it's even harder for women financially, okay? Their income, their financial situation drops by, on average, 50% after a woman goes through a divorce. And this is further compounded by the fact that women, more times than not, it is changing, but women more times than not tend to take the kids or have the kids or be granted custody of the kids. And so imagine now you have 1, 2, 3, 5 kids to look after. You need somewhere to put them. And so I get the logic of get all you can, right? Get the house. Make sure you get the house. But it's not that simple. It's not that simple. If you've ever owned a house, okay, if you currently own a house, you understand that it isn't just about making your mortgage payment every month. You understand that if you own a house, it is constant maintenance. If you live in a house, there's a lot that gets done in a month. And as soon as you do one thing, there's something else. For a simple example, landscaping, cutting your grass. Okay. Maybe you can do it yourself. Fine. All right. But you got to buy a mower, and then you have to also buy gas. And something that a lot of people don't think about, you also have to maintain your lawnmower. Okay. And that's the part that people just say, screw it, I'll pay someone to do it. Okay, so you got to do that. Are you going to water your lawn? Hello? I don't know. Let's just say you have appliances that suddenly decide that they're done. They retire. Can you afford to replace your washer or dryer? Right? And you have some kids. If your fridge goes bad, can you replace it? Okay? That's not the kind of thing that you just want to, slack on. If you spring a leak, can you afford that? If your roof starts leaking, and a leak, I was talking plumbing, but let's say your roof needs replacing. Can you replace your roof? Can you afford to replace your roof? Right? And then, so aside from the maintenance, some people just own homes in the craziest ways. However, we've come to acquire homes and things we've done to homes. Some homes are upside down. Okay, you're talking about homes you might have paid double than what it's worth for now. Is that something that you want? Does it make financial sense for you to now own something that will cost you money to unload? I get it. I really do. But it may just be better to, you might be actually come out ahead to walk away with nothing. And again, I know I started talking about women, but men too. Because this thing goes both ways. We've established that long before in the podcast. But getting all you can doesn't stop there, right? You can own it, but does it own you in return? Okay, ideally, you want to own things that do not own you. And if you're not going to be able to do that, you are just setting yourself up for just some bigger problems. Okay? Now, another bit of advice. This is the third one. People say, think about the kids. Now, okay, I can already hear you saying, oh no, Jameson, you mean to tell me I shouldn't think about my kids? No, I'm not telling you don't think about the kids. As a matter of fact, in a lot of divorce proceedings, all too often, the kids are ignored. I mean, if you guys listening now are, if you have parents who divorced, separated, and did not talk to you, you know what that feels like. Some of you listening now have issues and problems simply because one day your parents were together and then the next day they was like, yeah, we're done, we out. That is traumatic. So, yeah, you definitely want to consider your children and their well-being and not just be, ignoring them and not considering how a divorce will impact them. But when I say, the advice people give to think about the kids, what they often mean is that all of your decisions should solely be about the kids. Not that they are people to consider and think about, but you should only make decisions for your kids. Now, I love my kids dearly. Trust me, believe me, I do. But if I made decisions only about about my kids, if I only considered them and not myself, I would be a totally different person, and I don't think it'd be good for me or anybody else. I know it wouldn't be, right? Because when you just think about what the kids need, you neglect what you need. And if you're not getting something you need, there is no way you're going to be good for those kids. No way whatsoever. Okay? It's the simple stupid example in the when you fly. They tell you to put your mask on first. There's a reason for that. If you're passed out, you can't help anybody else. Okay? If you need to be somewhere in a certain job, in a certain climate, in a certain setup, in order to function, then you should do that. You should do that. And I know this is just simple. There are lots of complications when it comes to divorcing. But if you're not good, the kids are not going to be good. And if you can just try it, ask around. Too many people have stepped into this whole arena just focusing on making sure the kids are okay and not that they themselves will be all right. And at the end of it, they are more than miserable. They have a hard time maintaining and functioning. So, yeah, you don't want to ignore the needs of your children, but by all means, they should not be driving your decision-making process.
Hi, we are the Mercier kids. Like what you hear so far?
Make sure you never miss a show by clicking subscribe now.
This podcast is made possible by listeners like you. Thank you for your support. Now back to the show.
Another piece of unsolicited advice or more like something you hear, maybe not advice, but it's connected. People will say, you can do better. Or I knew you can do better. I know you can do better. And I wonder if people, when they say that, if they've said it in their head first, or if that's the first time they're saying it. But when you tell someone they can do better, you're essentially, that's a backhanded compliment, y'all. And you assume, often incorrectly, that they want to do better, which I prefer different. You can do differently, fine, but better, you don't know. You don't know. No idea what these people have been going through. No idea who initiated the divorce, but we just, feel inclined to share, and we just start saying stuff. Oh, you can do better. I know you can. Well, no, but that was my wife. That's who I chose. That's who I wanted. That was my husband. I don't want to do any better or different. And for you to put that out there, what you're doing now is just showing how you felt about that person's spouse. And maybe you didn't feel like that, but that's what you're saying in an attempt to be comforting and a supportive friend or family member. You are essentially doing more damage. Right? So don't go around telling people they can do better, or I always knew he was no good, or I knew she was no good. Like, don't say stuff like that. Right? Just shut up. Honestly. Right? There's no place for any kind of advice remotely close to that. So that's that. Next one. And this one kind of makes me chuckle. People will say, take it to Jesus. Yes, take it to Jesus. Take it to the Lord and he will fix it. And well, I just come on and say it, right? So one, again, you and your, wisdom, how do you know that they've not taken it to Jesus? How do you know? You have no idea who they've taken it to. All we know is they've just not brought it to you. That's all we know. But who's to say they've not taken it to Jesus? And who's to say that Jesus is not revealing to them what they need to do? We don't know that. No idea. Something else, and the reason I said that, I chuckle sometimes, is as humans and as people, we often wait until we are in some crappy situations to take it to Jesus. Okay? What did we take it to Jesus before we got married to this individual? I don't know. Maybe you did. I don't know. I'm not saying you didn't, but I'm just kind of throwing the question out there. Did we take it to Jesus after the first sign that we was having problems? I don't know. Did we take it to Jesus after the 5th time or the 10th time? Who knows? And if you didn't take it to Jesus in the beginning, I mean, why now? I mean, I know why, but it's like it's hypocritical, right? We wait till we can't do nothing else, and then we take it to Jesus. So, and don't get it twisted. He can, and if it is His will, He will redeem your relationship. But hey, that's your choice. That was your choice. And so I won't labor on that too much because I'm not trying to preach about this, but the advice to take it to Jesus, we already know it comes, like, the advices are loaded with assumptions, but that one right there assumes that you did not already, like you're not in communication with your Creator. So that always amuses me, this idea of taking it to Jesus. Last piece I'll say, and this one's tough for a lot of people, is that we give the advice not to cry. Girl, don't cry, or bro, dude, it's all right, don't cry. And then we say don't cry, and then we go back to some of these, you can do better, or, don't cry, focus on the big picture, right? We get fancy with it, we layer it. And again, the idea of not crying or grieving, when your life is falling apart, I don't know what to say to that. I have no idea. My wife Herdine, in her podcast Redefining Grief, she talks about this all the time. Grief is not just when someone's dying or when someone's dead. You will grieve. Well, let me take that back. You need to grieve your marriage. You must. There's no way to move beyond it. Not necessarily get over it, but move forward, right? Without grieving your marriage. And if you need to cry, well, damn it, then just cry. Okay, who am I? Who are we? Who are they? To tell you that you cannot cry or don't cry when your whole world is falling apart. It makes perfect sense that you would cry. I personally would question it if you did not cry. Now, even if you were miserable and you are now finally being set free, okay, I imagine you'd cry some happy tears. I don't know. But we tell people not to cry, not to grieve, don't be sad. Just shut up. Don't be sad. Don't let them see you cry. That's crazy. That's crazy. Years ago, when Herdine and I, we were confronting this very, very topic, we were like, I don't know, it looks like we might have had a good run, like we might be nearing the end of our run as husband and wife. I cried like a baby. A big old baby, right? Because the idea that some of the plans that we made, the idea that, being old and in a rocking chair together, that was not going to happen. That kind of stuff just hurts. And we wasn't like divorcing. We were like talking about it. Okay? So some people just don't understand. And I know we say they have good intentions, but, I heard someone say once, the road to hell is lined with good intentions. Yeah, it is. Okay, so good intentions don't mean anything. All right? We just need to sometimes just be quiet. Just stop talking. Just be quiet. That's often the best thing we can do. All right? So if you are the person who's kind of been dishing out some of this terrible advice to divorcees, just stop. We know you mean well. We understand you mean well, but don't. Okay? And if you're not, don't start. Do not start. Okay? Just leave it be. Just leave it be. Perhaps the best thing you can do in some cases is just, send them this podcast. How about that? Okay? If you found value in this episode, share it with people. Share it with somebody who needs to hear this. And like I always say, we know people who need to hear this information. So do them a favor, do us a favor, do yourselves a favor, and just share it with them. All right? After you've done that, come back, holler at us in the Instagram, in the comments. Let us know if we missed something. Let us know if we, went left when we should have gone right. And we'll recant it if we're wrong, or we'll just let it ride. Who knows? And talk about it later. I don't know. Y'all know how we do here. Thank you guys. Thank you for checking us out on this episode. The series continues the entire month of March, Unsolicited Advice. We have a few other demographics, a few other groups of people that we're going to address. You just might be one of those people. You just might be. And so I encourage you to stick with us all month long, and not to forget, all right, at the end of March, at the end of this month, join us for the Relationship Blueprint webinar that's happening. I think that's going to be pretty dope. Anytime we can hang and talk about relationships and dynamics of relationships, that stuff just excites me. So I appreciate you guys. I thank you for your support. Nothing you do for me is too small, even if it is just sharing. All right. Take care of yourselves. I love you, and I will catch you on the next episode of Relationship Renegade. Bye for now.